Bless you. All right, so detail Germany's plan with unrestricted submarine warfare. Describe how Germany sinking the Lusitania raised tensions with the United States. There you go. All right, okay. So we already talked about it at the start of the chapter with World War One. We're talking about the causes to World War One. One of them was militarism. And the example that we used was what? What was Germany and Great Britain getting involved in right before the war? That created this rivalry between the two. Jason, what were they getting involved in here? The example we used for militarism. Big L for you. Okay, someone else. Someone else. Go ahead, Matt. Say it again. Jason, hear it?
Anglo-German naval arms.
Yes, good job. The naval arms race between Germany and Great Britain. Okay, so we talked about that a lot, right? We mentioned about how the dreadnoughts from Great Britain were they were creating a lot of these different types of modern day battleships, and they're trying to stay double the amount of the next opposing force, which was Germany, right out in the open waters. So Germany decided, well, we're going to have to innovate in a new way. We're going to have to create some sort of ship that's going to seek an advantage out in the open waters. And what was that again? What was that? Connor. U-boats. Yeah, good job. Submarines. Okay. At the start of the war, could you detect them? Could you know exactly where they were? No. It was almost impossible to do so. So these U-boats really are taking advantage here out in the open water, sinking a lot of these dreadnoughts and these other supply ships coming in. So with unrestricted submarine warfare and utilizing it here with against Great Britain, right? Against Great Britain here, what were they trying to do? What were they trying to do? Again, Great Britain did what? What is Great Britain? What? An island. You have good job. So we talked about how Great Britain was already limited to what resources and raw materials they had. So through that age of exploration and the golden age for England, they were looking to reach out, imperialize these lands all around the world, and extract resources and raw materials that they didn't have, right? That they didn't have in their own land. So again, we talked about the empire Great Britain built during that age of imperialism. So they're, again, limited to what they have. So they're depending on these territories, depending on this trade with the United States when it comes to just basic survival. So Germany realized, well, what better way to try to push Great Britain out of war than just sink everything coming in, destroy their supplies, destroy a lot of the foods and resources coming in that was just going to keep them going. If they don't have these materials, they can no longer fight. So that was the goal, right? That was the goal. All right, what about the Lusitania? You read a little bit about it yesterday. What was it? What was it? What was the Lusitania? Kind of odd. I don't know if I would be sailing out around, let's say, the Atlantic Ocean during the final war, but it is what it is. Awesome.
It was a British passenger ship that was holding things. That was full of it.
Yeah, good job, right? So this Lusitania here, this British passenger ship was traveling across the Atlantic Ocean. The United States, there's about 130. The numbers are all, they always vary. Yeah, they always vary. But with the number of American citizens on it here, they're traveling. It was a passenger ship, and it was sunk right off the coast of Great Britain. Okay, and with the Lusitania here, this was somewhat of a sign of war, right? We have innocent Americans dying, obviously British civilians dying in this event. And this was pushing America to make a tough decision. Okay, Woodrow Wilson, we already talked about how it was very difficult for him to make a decision getting involved in World War I. He wanted to try to stay out of it as long as possible. Why? Because the U.S. is a melting pot. We just dive in on one side, we're going to probably anger thousands, millions of people in the United States, be causing an internal rebellion. So with the Lusitania, did we join right after the sinking of this ship? No, we did not. Okay, and this only happened a year after the war occurred. So you can only imagine here, Great Britain, even Germany, right? They're looking for the United States for maybe help or to try to keep them out as long as possible. And with the U.S., okay, again, we were trying to make sure we could stay out of this conflict again as long as possible. So with the sinking of Lusitania, it made things a lot very tricky, made things a lot difficult, a lot more difficult than what it should have been. Okay, and with Wilson, he tried to stay out of it and try to make the right decisions moving forward. All right, so with Lusitania, you read a little bit about it yesterday. We'll go into the questions here soon enough. But what was some of the controversy here with Lusitania? What was it? Why? Go ahead.
People believe that Great Britain sunk their own ship.
Okay. Yeah, good job, right? So it was really close to the shoreline when this ship sunk. Okay, definitely enough, far away from the shoreline so that many people that were trying to flee or jump off the ship, they couldn't really swim to safety. It was too far for that. But if anything, right, a lot of people were looking at it and say, oh, Great Britain fire upon their own ship here to try to get the U.S. involved. Again, when it comes to communication, who control it all? Great Britain. So yeah, there's a lot of controversy around it. There's a lot of conspiracy theories around the sinking of Lusitania and how many people believe that maybe Great Britain fired upon its own ship. Anyway, what else? What else? What are some other forms of controversy around there? So yeah, it was a passenger ship, but what was maybe under the deck? What was under the deck, maybe? Parker. Yeah, yeah, right. So some people were saying, hey, this was actually holding a lot of military equipment, military supplies. Maybe they're disguising it, obviously, as a passenger ship, and maybe they had some of these supplies and armaments right there under the deck. So again, you can kind of take it for what it's worth, right? But with the Lusitania, this was a step closer for the U.S. to get involved and painting the picture of who is the enemy. Who is the enemy? These tactics. Awesome. Yeah, Jared. Good, good. All right, so any questions here? Any questions? So one thing to note is that there's a lot of reports, okay, of the dead bodies that were washing ashore from the sinking of Lusitania. Many of them drowned, obviously, and died from the destruction of Lusitania. So you can imagine if you're an American citizen in the United States and you hear these reports, dead bodies washing ashore, there you are trying to have your morning tea, let's say, and all of a sudden you see these dead bodies coming up to the shoreline. And these stories really hit home because we know that they're American citizens, innocent civilians that were a part of this wreckage. So yeah, this was a way to try to maybe provoke the U.S. to get involved here. If you're Great Britain, you want to try to really emphasize these stories to get them involved. All right, so let's go to the assignment. Sorry, I attached the wrong one. Some of the questions here are a little off, and I edited them for you guys. I edited it before, but it was a Word doc rather than a Google doc, so it didn't update. So I apologize. But number one, what do we have here? When and where did Lusitania leave from? What do we got? Chris?
From New York City on May 1st. I don't remember what.
All right, there it comes. There it is. There you go. Good job. Good job. So yeah, this passenger ship was making its way across the Atlantic Ocean during a time of war. I don't know if it's a smart idea, especially when you know these U-boats are lurking around. Okay, we talked about it yesterday. When it comes to this battlefield out in the open water across the Atlantic, there's nowhere to go, nowhere to hide. Right, Austin? Titanic. Okay. So yeah, there's just nowhere to go. You're going to go down with the ship. It's not like you could just row a boat that far, a life vessel all across the Atlantic Ocean, or swim that distance. It's impossible. Plus, the waters are freezing cold. All right, and yeah, with the Lusitania, again, it kind of got sunk right off the shore, really, of Great Britain. Okay, close to its destination there. All right, two. What was the other name of Lusitania? Why was it called this? Connor.
The Greyhound is used to fast flyer.
Yeah, good job, right? So the Greyhound of the Seas, okay, and it was very fast for the time, and obviously you wanted a vessel, a ship that could move pretty quick, so you could avoid maybe some of these torpedo fire shots from these U-boats. Okay, one thing to note with the next question here, when it comes to its route, okay, the idea was if you moved in a zigzag formation, okay, this was preventing the submarines to lock onto you, okay? So for number three here, when we're looking at exactly how it was sunk, it wasn't traveling in this type of measure. Also, it was really foggy. So the Lusitania was going at speeds a lot lower than what it's usually going. Okay, so when it travels across the Atlantic Ocean, it always goes in zigzags. Okay, you guys ever watch Steve Irwin, Crocodile Hunter back in the day? Whenever you're running from a crocodile or an alligator, you got to run in zigzags because they have short, stubby arms. You can't make the movements to do those. Just like avoiding U-boats. Okay, fine. All right, there you go. There you go. So yeah, it wasn't moving in zigzags here. It wasn't moving at the speeds it normally goes because of the foggy conditions. All right, so that's number three here. Number four. What was the name of the submarine that sank the Lusitania? What was the name of the submarine's captain? So you had to read a little bit, maybe off to the side here for this. What do you got? What do you got? Matt, U-20. Yep, good job. Did you get the captain's name?
Yeah, Walter, last name.
No. Okay.
Schweiger?
All right. All right. Schweiger. Schweiger. Yeah. Good. Good. All right. So I wanted you to read into it a little bit more. I thought his firsthand account at the bottom of the reading was interesting, talking about really just the time it took for Lusitania to sink. Oh, how long did it take? How long did it take? What do we get here for number 5? How long did it take? Matt? Yeah, 20 minutes. That's it. Geez, 20 minutes. Okay, like I mentioned before, right, when it came to the Lusitania, there's a lot of reports, a lot of writings, and detail back to the United States about the bodies washing ashore, even weeks after the event, after the Lusitania was sunk. And yeah, you can only imagine about how terrible that sight might have been. And just knowing, again, 120, 130 American citizens dying. Okay, with Woodrow Wilson, again, giving him a tough decision to make. Okay, one thing to note, you'll learn about it later down the road here in American history too. With Teddy Roosevelt, he was still very popular amongst the American people, and he lost the presidency election to Woodrow Wilson. And he was trying to build up a lot of tensions, a lot of popularity with the people to say, hey, we need to get involved right now. This is only going to elevate us more as a world power. And hearing this story where U.S. citizens were killed, okay, we need to make sure that we can stand up to this. Okay, we can't stay out of it. But Wilson still, after the event of the Lusitania sinking, okay, it was still one of those events where he said no, which lost him a lot of credit with American people. All right, is there any questions here on that reading? So make sure you turn it in, okay? Important to note as one of the causes leading into World War I for the United States. All right, so here is your one term for today. Here's the last cause, the last straw for the U.S. to get involved. The Zimmerman telegram. Right, Zimmerman telegram. If you look it up, it might say note 2, Zimmerman note, whatever. All right, okay. All right. So the Zimmerman telegram, what do we got? What do we have? Zimmerman note. What is it? What is it? Alana, what do you have? All right, good job. So this was the final straw here. So 2 years later, after Lusitania was sunk, okay, after that went down, they thought, well, we need to do something here, right? And eventually, okay, this came to a head. Right, the Zimmerman telegram that was sent by Germany to Mexico to try to push Mexico into fighting the United States, okay, to try to keep them preoccupied in the Western Hemisphere. This was the final straw. Okay, for the U.S., like, hey, you know what? Okay, Germany's still being aggressive. This war is still prolonging, and now, okay, they are utilizing Mexico to maybe potentially attack us. Okay, this is wild. So this finally pushed the United States into sending troops over and getting involved. Again, when did it happen? 1917. So this is just a year before the war ended. That's one thing to know. U.S. comes over, wreaks havoc, and wins, right? Yeah, that's not really how it went. But in any case, 1917, the U.S. joins the war. Final straw of the Zimmerman note. Okay, so what is it? What is it? Well, like I mentioned, with Germany and Great Britain, the Allied powers here, they're duking it out in Europe for a long time. And with trench warfare, what kind of fighting is this again? Offensive or defense? Defensive, yeah, good job. So there's really not much movement. Ever since the start of that Schlieffen plan, right at the beginning of World War I in 1914, these trenches were dug out and they're just waiting for the opposition to make their way across no man's land to set up an invasion or attack. And with that, okay, this halted a lot of the movement. And for Germany, for Great Britain, for France, they've been duking it out in the Western Front for 3 long years now. Okay, resources were getting low. The war was getting drawn out. And these two powers here, well, when you look at Germany versus Great Britain, France, 3 powers, okay, this was getting drawn out. So Germany realized the only way they can try to keep the United States out of this event, okay, the only way they can try to keep the U.S. from getting involved is by maybe keeping them preoccupied in the Western Hemisphere. And maybe if someone would attack them, someone that they just had a war with not too long ago, Mexican-American War, that we talked about, American History 2, American History 1, this war between Mexico and the United States occurred right around the mid-1800s. Okay, right close or after, there's a lot of tensions between Mexico and the United States. And under Woodrow Wilson's presidency, which you'll learn more about, okay, there was a lot of hostility when it came to the U.S. trying to promote a lot of business ventures in Mexico, a lot of it drilling oil and different types of resources like that. And Mexico wasn't having. So there's a lot of tensions there with Mexico and the United States that you'll learn more about in American history. So with that, Germany sends this telegram, sends this deciphered code across these telegraph cables to Mexico to provoke them into attacking the United States. Again, the goal was, well, if they attack the U.S., this will keep the U.S. from joining the war where? Why? In Europe, right? So they're preoccupied. They won't get involved. And this might give the leverage here for Germany to finally make the final push to try to end this war in Europe and to defeat the Allied powers. If the U.S. joins, Germany realizes it's just too much for them. Okay, they just can't take on another industrial power, especially like the United States, joining this conflict. So the goal was to keep them preoccupied, have Mexico duke it out here with the United States and keep them out of the war. And then after the war, what does Mexico get in return? Should have read about it in vocab here. What does Mexico get in return? Why? Go ahead, Marcy. Chris, go ahead. They get the territory that they lost. Yeah, good job, right? So that war that they lost in the United States, they'll get these territories back. So Germany's saying, hey, if you preoccupy them, and once we win this conflict, once we defeat, Great Britain and France over to Europe, we will send our forces over, we'll defeat the United States. Guess what? You get these territories back that you lost. So Texas, right? New Mexico, Arizona, these territories will go back to Mexico. If you're Mexico, you're saying, oh, that sounds good, right? That sounds great. But in all reality, you think Mexico can take on the United States? No, right? No, they can't. So here's other views of conspiracy where it's like, did this actually happen? Did this occur? Who, again, controlled the communications? Who intercepted this message? Awesome. Great Britain. Oh man, what another way to try to get the US involved. Number one, the Lusitania, 2 years, right? Right, well, just a year into the war in 1915. The United States still said, no, we're not getting involved. 2 years later, after this war was really getting drawn out, okay, Great Britain realizing that if they don't get the US involved sooner or later, this is going to be some trouble. And with this unrestricted submarine warfare, US doesn't get involved, chances are they might see their fall. So yeah, maybe this was a last ditch effort. Right? Maybe this was the final straw here for Great Britain into promoting and provoking the U.S. to get involved in World War I. Again, when you look at it, did Mexico actually take on the United States? Probably not. So that's why a lot of people were saying, I don't know about this. But in any case here, with the interception of this message, which was proven, which was true then, okay, so put those conspiracy theories to bed. This was another means of warfare that you never really think about. This was a form of technological warfare. So you're utilizing intelligence to intercept these messages, much like a Rubik's Cube, and you're breaking the code. You're breaking the code. You're trying to decipher these messages in order to have an advantage. And with Great Britain controlling communications, well, that's just a huge advantage in itself, right? Okay. So you see the benefits here for the potential earnings for Mexico. You see the benefits for Germany. If, let's say, Mexico attacks the United States, keep them out. Mexico's promised these territories that they lost. And the United States is going to be preoccupied in the Western Hemisphere, giving enough time maybe for Germany to push and defeat the Allied powers in Europe, and then maybe eventually meeting Mexico in this war against the United States. But in all reality, it never happened. Right? Mexico looked at it and said, yeah, this is suicide. We don't want any parts of the United States right now here. Yeah, obviously this would be too much for our military. We just can't wage this war. All right, is there any questions here? The Zimmerman telegram. So again, another asset here, another another form of warfare that you really don't think too much of. And as this technological war continues on. All right, so we're going to finish up here with an assignment. Just joking, just joking. It's just a video here, just a video. Finish up with a video about the Zimmerman telegram.